This is not a Bible study, episode 42, First Maccabees. Now it came to pass, after Alexander, who first reigned in Greece, coming out of the land of Kittim, had overthrown Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, in 330 BC, he fought many battles and took the strongholds of all, and slew the kings of the earth. And he went through even to the ends of the earth, and took the spoils of many nations, and the earth was quiet before him. And he gathered a power and a very strong army, and his heart was exalted and lifted up, and he subdued countries of all nations and princes, and they became tributaries to him. And after these things he fell down upon his bed, and knew that he should die. And he called his servants, the nobles that were brought up with him from his youth, and he divided his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. And Alexander reigned 12 years, and he died in 323 BC. And his servants made themselves kings, every one in his place. And they all put crowns upon themselves after his death, and their sons after them many years. And evils were multiplied in the earth. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus the illustrious, in 170, the son of King Antiochus, who had been a hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year, the kingdom of the Greeks, 175 BC. In those days there went out of Israel wicked men, and they persuaded many, saying, "Let us go and make a covenant with the heathens that are round about us. For since we departed from them, many evils have befallen us." And the word seemed good in their eyes. And some of the people determined to do this, and went to the king, and he gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathens. And they built a place of exercise in Jerusalem according to the laws of the nations. And they made themselves foreskins, and departed from the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathens, and were sold to do evil. And the kingdom was established before Antiochus, and he had a mind to reign over the land of Egypt, that he might reign over two kingdoms. And he entered into Egypt with a great multitude, with chariots and elephants and horsemen, and a great number of ships. And he made war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt. But Ptolemy was afraid at his presence, and fled, and many were wounded unto death. And he took the strong cities in the land of Egypt, and he took the spoils of the land of Egypt. And after Antiochus had ravaged Egypt, in the 143rd year, December 167 BC, he returned and went up against Israel. And he went up to Jerusalem with a great multitude. And he proudly entered into the sanctuary, and took away the golden altar, and the candlestick of light, and all its vessels, and the table of proposition, and the pouring vessels, and the vials, and the little mortars of gold, and the veil, and the crowns, and the golden ornament that was before the temple, and he broke them all in pieces. And he took the silver and gold, and the precious vessels, and he took the hidden treasures which he found. And when he had taken all away, he departed into his own country. And he made a great slaughter of men, and spoke very proudly. And there was a great mourning in Israel, and in every place where they were. And the princes and the ancients mourned, and the virgins and the young men were made feeble, and the beauty of the women was changed. Every bridegroom took up lamentation, and the bride that sat in the marriage bed mourned. And the land was moved for its inhabitants, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. In those days arose Mattithias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Joarib from Jerusalem, and he abode in the mountain of Modin. And he had 5 sons: John, who was surnamed Gaddis, and Simon, who was surnamed Thassi, and Judas, who was called Maccabees, and Eleazar, who was surnamed Abiron, and Jonathan, who was surnamed Aphus. These saw the evils that were done in the people of Judah and in Jerusalem. And Mattathias said, "Woe is me! Wherefore was I born to see the ruin of my people, and the ruin of the holy city, and to dwell there when it is given into the hand of the enemies. The holy places are come into the hands of strangers. Her temple is become as a man without honor. The vessels of her glory are carried away captive. Her old men are murdered in the streets, and her young men are fallen by the sword of the enemies. What nation has not inherited her kingdom and gotten of her spoils?" And Mattathias and his sons rent their garments, and they covered themselves with haircloth, and made great lamentation. And they that were sent from King Antiochus came there to compel them that were fled into the city of Modin to sacrifice and to burn incense, and to depart from the law of God. And many of the people of Israel consented and came to them, but Mattathias and his sons stood firm. Then Mattathias answered and said with a loud voice, "Although all nations obey King Antiochus, so as to depart every man from the service of the law of his fathers, and consent to his commandments, I and my sons and my brethren will obey the law of our fathers. God be merciful to us. It is not profitable for us to forsake the law and the justices of God. We will not listen to the words of King Antiochus, neither will we sacrifice and transgress the commandments of our law to go another way." Now, as he left off speaking these words, there came a certain Jew in the sight of all to sacrifice to the idols upon the altar in the city of Modin, according to the king's commandment. And Mattathias saw and was grieved, and his reins trembled, and his wrath was kindled according to the judgment of the law. And running upon him, he slew him upon the altar. Moreover, the man whom King Antiochus had sent, who compelled them to sacrifice, he slew at the same time, and pulled down the altar, and showed zeal for the law, as Phinehas did by Zamri the son of Salome. And Mattathias cried out in the city with a loud voice, saying, "Every one that has zeal for the law and maintains the testament, let him follow me." So he and his sons fled into the mountains, and left all they had in the city. Then many that sought after judgment and justice went down into the desert, and they abode there, they and their children and their wives and their cattle, because afflictions increased upon them. Now the days drew near that Mattathias should die, in 166 BC. And he said to his sons, "Now has pride and chastisement gotten strength in the time of destruction and the wrath of indignation. Now therefore, O my sons, be zealous for the law, and give your lives for the covenant of your fathers. And call to remembrance the works of your fathers, which they have done in their generations, and you shall receive great glory and an everlasting name. Was not Abraham found faithful in temptation, and it was reputed to him unto justice? Joseph, in the time of his distress, kept the commandment, and he was made Lord of Egypt. Phinehas, our father, by being fervent in the zeal of God, received the covenant of an everlasting priesthood. Jesus, while he fulfilled the word, was made ruler in Israel. Caleb, for bearing witness before the congregation, received an inheritance. David, by his mercy, obtained the throne of an everlasting kingdom. Elijah, while he is full of zeal for the law, was taken up into heaven. Ananiah and Azariah and Mishael, by believing, were delivered out of the flame. Daniel, in his innocence, was delivered out of the mouth of the lions. And thus consider through all generations that none that trust in him fail in strength. And do not fear the words of a sinful man, for his glory is dung and worms. Today he is lifted up, and tomorrow he shall not be found, because he is returned into his earth, and his thought is come to nothing. You therefore, my sons, take courage, and behave manfully in the law, for by it you shall be glorious. And behold, I know that your brother Simon is a man of counsel. Give ear to him always, and he shall be a father to you. And Judas Maccabeus, who is valiant and strong from his youth up, let him be the leader of your army, and he shall manage the war of the people. And you shall take to you all that observe the law, and revenge for yourselves the wrong of your people. Render to the Gentiles their reward, and take heed to the precepts of the law. And he blessed them, and was joined to his fathers. And he died in the 146th year, and he was buried by his sons in the sepulchres of his fathers in Modin, and all Israel mourned for him with great mourning. Then his son Judas, called Maccabeus, rose up in his stead, and all his brethren helped him, and all they that had joined themselves to his father, and they fought with cheerfulness the battle of Israel. And he got his people great honor, and put on a breastplate as a giant, and girt his warlike armor about him in battles, and protected the camp with his sword. In his acts he was like a lion, and like a lion's whelp, roaring for his prey. And he pursued the wicked, and sought them out, and them that troubled his people he burnt with fire. And his enemies were driven away for fear of him, and all the workers of iniquity were troubled. And salvation prospered in his hand. And he grieved many kings, and made Jacob glad with his works, and his memory is blessed forever. And he went through the cities of Judah, and destroyed the wicked out of them, and turned away wrath from Israel. And he was renowned even to the utmost part of the earth, and he gathered them that were perishing. And Apollonius gathered together the Gentiles, and a numerous and great army from Samaria, to make war against Israel. And Judas understood it, and went forth to meet him. And he overthrew him, and killed him, and many fell down slain, and the rest fled away. And he took their spoils, and Judas took the sword of Apollonius, and fought with it all his lifetime. And the fear of Judas and of his brethren, and the dread of them, fell upon all the nations round about them. And his fame came to the king, and all nations told of the battles of Judas. Now when King Antiochus heard these words, he was angry in his mind, and he sent and gathered the forces of all his kingdom, an exceeding strong army. And he opened his treasury, and gave out pay to the army for a year, and he commanded them that they should be ready for all things. In 164 BC, Judas and his brethren saw that evils were multiplied, and that the armies approached to their borders, and they knew the orders the king had given to destroy the people and utterly abolish them. And they said, every man to his neighbor, let us raise up the low condition of our people, and let us fight for our people and our sanctuary. And the assembly was gathered, that they might be ready for battle, and that they might pray and ask mercy and compassion. Now Jerusalem was not inhabited, but was like a desert. There was none of her children that went in or out, and the sanctuary was trodden down, and the children of strangers were in the castle. There was the habitation of the Gentiles, and joy was taken away from Jacob, and the pipe and the harp ceased there. And they assembled together, and came to Maspha, over against Jerusalem. For Maspha was a place of prayer heretofore in Israel. And they fasted that day, and put on haircloth, and put ashes upon their heads, and they rent their garments. And they laid open the books of the law, in which the Gentiles searched for the likeness of their idols. And they brought the priestly ornaments and the firstfruits and tithes, and stirred up the Nazarites that had fulfilled their days. And they cried with a loud voice toward heaven, saying, What shall we do with these, and where shall we carry them? For your holies are trodden down and are profaned, and your priests are in mourning and are brought low. And behold, the nations are come together against us to destroy us. You know what they intend against us. How shall we be able to stand before their face, unless you, O God, help us? Then they sounded with trumpets and cried out with a loud voice. And after this, Judas appointed captains over the people, over thousands, and over hundreds, and over fifties, and over tens. And he said to them that were building houses, or had betrothed wives, or were planting vineyards, or were fearful, that they should return every man to his house, according to the law. So they removed the camp, and pitched on the south side of Emmaus. And Judas said, Gird yourselves, and be valiant men, and be ready against the morning, that you may fight with these nations that are assembled against us to destroy us and our sanctuary. For it is better for us to die in battle than to see the evils of our nation and of the holies. Nevertheless, as it shall be the will of God in heaven, so be it done. Then Judas and his brethren said, Behold, our enemies are discomfited. Let us go up now to cleanse the holy places and repair them. And all the army assembled together, and they went up into Mount Zion. And they saw the sanctuary desolate, and the altar profaned, and the gates burnt, and shrubs growing up in the courts, as in a forest, or on the mountains, and the chambers joining to the temple thrown down. And they rent their garments, and made great lamentation, and put ashes on their heads. And they fell down to the ground upon their faces, and they sounded with the trumpets of alarm, and they cried towards heaven. Then Judas appointed men to fight against them that were in the castle, till they had cleansed the holy places. And he chose priests without blemish, whose will was set upon the law of God. And they cleansed the holy places, and took away the stones that had been defiled into an unclean place. And he considered about the altar of holocausts that had been profaned, what he should do with it. And a good counsel came into their minds to pull it down, lest it should be a reproach to them, because the Gentiles had defiled it. So they threw it down, and they laid up the stones in the mountain of the temple in a convenient place, till there should come a prophet, and give answer concerning them. Then they took whole stones, according to the law, and built a new altar according to the former. And they built up the holy places, and the things that were within the temple, and they sanctified the temple and the courts. And they made new holy vessels, and brought in the candlestick, and the altar of incense, and the table into the temple. And they put incense upon the altar, and lighted up the lamps that were upon the candlestick, and they gave light in the temple. And they set the loaves upon the table, and hung up the veils, and finished all the works that they had begun to make. And they arose before the morning on the 25th day of the 9th month, which is the month of Caslev, in the 148th year, December 164 BC. And they offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of holocausts, which they had made, according to the time and according to the day wherein the heathens had defiled it. In the same was it dedicated anew, with canticles, and harps, and lutes, and cymbals. And all the people fell upon their faces, and adored, and blessed up to heaven him that had prospered them. And they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days. And they offered holocausts with joy, and sacrifices of salvation and of praise. And they adorned the front of the temple with crowns of gold, and escutcheons, and they renewed the gates and the chambers, and hanged doors upon them. And there was exceedingly great joy among the people, and the reproach of the Gentiles was turned away. And Judas and his brethren and all the church of Israel decreed that the day of the dedication of the altar should be kept in its season from year to year for 8 days, from the 25th day of the month of Kislev, with joy and gladness. And they built up also at that time Mount Zion with high walls and strong towers round about, lest the Gentiles should at any time come and tread it down, as they did before. And he placed a garrison there to keep it, and he fortified it to secure Bethsur, that the people might have a defense against Idumea. Now it came to pass, when the nations round about heard that the altar and the sanctuary were built up as before, that they were exceedingly angry. And they thought to destroy the generation of Jacob that were among them, and they began to kill some of the people and to persecute them. Then Judas fought against the children of Esau in Idumea, and them that were in Acrabatane, because they beset the Israelites round about, and he made a great slaughter of them. And he remembered the malice of the children of Baan, who were a snare and a stumbling block to the people, by lying in wait for them in the way. And they were shut up by him in towers, and he set upon them, and devoted them to utter destruction, and burnt their towers with fire, and all that were in them. Then he passed over to the children of Ammon, where he found a mighty power and much people. And Timothy was their captain. And he fought many battles with them, and they were discomfited in their sight, and he smote them. And he took the city of Gaza and her towns, and returned into Judea. And the Gentiles that were in Gilead assembled themselves together against the Israelites that were in their quarters, to destroy them. And they fled into the fortress of Dathaman. And they sent letters to Judas and his brethren, saying, The heathens that are round about are gathered together against us to destroy us, and they are preparing to come, and to take the fortress into which we are fled, and Timothy is the captain of their host. Now therefore come and deliver us out of their hands, for many of us are slain. And all our brethren that were in the places of Tubin are killed, and they've carried away their wives and their children captives, and taken their spoils, and they've slain there almost 1,000 men. Now, in the days that Judas and Jonathan were in the land of Gilead, and Simon his brother in Galilee before Ptolemais, Joseph, the son of Zechariah and Azariah, captain of the soldiers, heard of the good success and the battles that were fought. And he said, Let us also get us a name, and let us go out and fight against the Gentiles that are round about us. And he gave charge to them that were in his army, and they went towards Jamnia. And Gorgias and his men went out of the city to give them battle. And Joseph and Azariah were put to flight, and were pursued into the borders of Judea. And there fell on that day of the people of Israel about 2,000 men. And there was a great overthrow of the people, because they did not listen to Judas and his brethren, thinking that they should do manfully. But they were not of the seed of those men by whom salvation was brought to Israel. And the men of Judah were magnified exceedingly in the sight of all Israel, and of all the nations where their name was heard. And the people assembled to them with joyful acclamations. Then Judas and his brethren went forth and attacked the children of Esau in the land towards the south. And he took Hebron and her towns, and he burnt the walls thereof and the towers all round it. And he removed his camp to go into the land of the aliens, and he went through Samaria. In that day some priests fell in battle, while desiring to do manfully, they went out unadvisedly to fight. Now, King Antiochus was going through the higher countries, and he heard that the city of Elamias in Persia was greatly renowned, and abounding in silver and gold, and that there was in it a temple exceedingly rich, and coverings of gold, and breastplates and shields, which King Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, that reigned first in Greece, had left there. So he came and sought to take the city and pillage it. But he was not able, because the design was known to them that were in the city. And they rose up against him in battle, and he fled away from there, and departed with great sadness, and returned towards Babylonia. And while he was in Persia, there came one that told him how the armies that were in the land of Judah were put to flight, and that Lysias went with a very great power, and was put to flight before the face of the Jews, and that they were grown strong by the armor and power and store of spoils which they had gotten out of the camps which they had destroyed, and that they had thrown down the abomination which he had set up on the altar in Jerusalem, and that they had compassed about the sanctuary with high walls as before, and Bethsura also his city. And it came to pass, when the king heard these words, that he was struck with fear, and exceedingly moved, and he laid himself down upon his bed, and fell sick for grief, because it had not fallen out to him as he had imagined. And he remained there many days, for great grief came more and more upon him, and he made account that he should die. And he called for all his friends, and said to them, Sleep is gone from my eyes, and I am fallen away, and my heart is cast down for anxiety. And I said in my heart, Into how much tribulation am I come, and into what floods of sorrow wherein now I am? I that was pleasant and beloved in my power. But now I remember the evils that I did in Jerusalem, from which also I took away all the spoils of gold and of silver that were in it, and I sent to destroy the inhabitants of Judah without cause. I know therefore that for this cause these evils have found me, and behold, I perish with great grief in a strange land. In the 151st year, 161 BC, Demetrius, the son of Seleucus, departed from the city of Rome, and came up with few men into a city of the seacoast, and reigned there. And there came to him the wicked and ungodly men of Israel, and Alchemus was at the head of them, who desired to be made high priest. And they accused the people to the king, saying, Judas and his brethren have destroyed all your friends, and he has driven us out of our land. Now therefore send some men whom you trust, and let him go, and see all the havoc he has made among us, and in the king's lands, and let him punish all his friends and their helpers. Then the king chose Bacchides, one of his friends, that ruled beyond the great river in the kingdom, and was faithful to the king. And he sent him to see the havoc that Judas had made. And the wicked Alchemus he made high priest, and commanded him to take revenge upon the children of Israel. And they arose and came with a great army into the land of Judah, and they sent messengers and spoke to Judas and his brethren with peaceable words, deceitfully. But they gave no heed to their words, for they saw that they were come with a great army. Then there assembled to Alchemus and Bacchides a company of the scribes to require things that are just. And first the Assadeans that were among the children of Israel, and they sought peace from them. For they said, One that is a priest of the seed of Aaron is come, he will not deceive us. And he spoke to them peaceably, and he swore to them, saying, We will do you no harm, nor your friends. And they believed him. And he took 60 of them, and slew them in one day, according to the word that is written, the flesh of your saints and the blood of them they have shed round about Jerusalem, and there was none to bury them. Now Judas heard of the fame of the Romans, that they are powerful and strong, and willingly agree to all things that are requested of them, and that whosoever have come to them they have made amity with them, and that they are mighty in power. And they heard of their battles, and their noble acts which they had done in Galatia, how they had conquered them, and brought them that under tribute, and how great things they had done in the land of Spain, and that they had brought under their power the mines of silver and of gold that are there, and had gotten possession of all the place by their counsel and patience, and had conquered places that were very far off from them, and kings that came against them from the ends of the earth, and had overthrown them with great slaughter. And the rest pay them tribute every year. So Judas chose Eupolemus, the son of John, the son of Jacob, and Jason, the son of Eleazar. And he sent them to Rome to make a league of amity and confederacy with them, and that they might take off from them the yoke of the Grecians, for they saw that they oppressed the kingdom of Israel with servitude. And they went to Rome, a very long journey, and they entered into the Senate house, and said, Judas Maccabeus and his brethren and the people of the Jews have sent us to you to make alliance and peace with you, and that we may be registered your confederates and friends. And the proposal was pleasing in their sight. And this is the copy of the writing that they wrote back again, graven in tables of brass, and sent to Jerusalem, that it might be with them there for a memorial of the peace and alliance. Good success be to the Romans and to the people of the Jews by sea and by land forever. And far be the sword an enemy from them. But if there come first any war upon the Romans or any of their confederates in all their dominions, the nations of the Jews shall help them according as the time shall direct, with all their heart. Neither shall they give them while they are fighting, or furnish them with wheat or arms or money or ships, as it has seemed good to the Romans, and they shall obey their orders without taking anything of them. In like manner also, if war shall come first upon the nation of the Jews, the Romans shall help them with all their heart, according as the time shall permit them. In the meantime, 160 BC, when Demetrius heard that Nicanor and his army were fallen in battle, he sent again Bacchides and Alcimus into Judea, and the right wing of his army with them. And they took the road that leads to Gilgal, and they made camp in Masaloth, which is in Arabella. And they made themselves masters of it, and slew many people. In the first month of the 152nd year, they brought up the army to Jerusalem, and they arose and went to Berea with 20,000 men and 2,000 horsemen. Now Judas had pitched his tents in Laish, and 3,000 chosen men with him. And they saw the multitude of the army, that they were many, and they were seized with great fear. And many withdrew themselves out of the camp, and there remained of them no more than 800 men. And Judas saw that his army slipped away, and the battle pressed upon him, and his heart was cast down, because he had not time to gather them together, and he was discouraged. Then he said to them that remained, Let us arise and go against our enemies, if we may be able to fight against them. But they dissuaded him, saying, We shall not be able, but let us save our lives now and return to our brethren, and then we will fight against them, for we are but few." Then Judah said, "God forbid we should do this thing and flee away from them. But if our time be come, let us die manfully for our brethren, and let us not stain our glory." And the army removed out of the camp, and they stood over against them, and the horsemen were divided into two troops. And the slingers and the archers went before the army, and they that were in the front were all men of valor. And Bacchides was in the right wing, and the legion drew near on two sides, and they sounded the trumpets. And they also that were on Judas's side, even they also cried out, and the earth shook at the noise of the armies, and the battle was fought from morning even unto the evening. And Judas perceived that the stronger part of the army of Bacchides was on the right side, and all the stout of heart came together with him. And the right wing was discomfited by them, and he pursued them even to Mount Azotus. And they that were in the left wing saw that the right wing was discomfited, and they followed after Judas, and them that were with him at their back. And the battle was hard fought, and there fell many wounded of the one side and of the other. And Judas was slain, and the rest fled away. And Jonathan and Simon took Judas their brother, and buried him in the sepulchre of their fathers in the city of Modin. And all the people of Israel bewailed him with great lamentation, and they mourned for him many days. And all the friends of Judas came together and said to Jonathan, "Since your brother Judas died, there is not a man like him to go forth against our enemies, Bacchides, and them that are the enemies of our nation. Now therefore we have chosen you this day to be our prince and captain in his stead, to fight our battles." So Jonathan took upon him the government at that time, and rose up in the place of Judas his brother. And Bacchides had knowledge of it, and sought to kill him. And Jonathan and Simon his brother knew it, and all that were with them, and they fled into the desert of Tekoa, and they pitched by the water of Lake Asphar. And Bacchides understood it, and he came himself with all his army over the Jordan on the Sabbath day. And Jonathan sent his brother, a captain of the people, to desire the Nabateans, his friends, that they would lend them their equipage, which was copious. And the children of Jambri came forth out of Madaba, and took John and all that he had, and went away with them. After this it was told Jonathan and Simon his brother that the children of Jambri made a great marriage, and were bringing the bride out of Madaba, the daughter of one of the great princes of Canaan, with great pomp. And they remembered the blood of John their brother, and they went up and hid themselves under the covert of the mountain. And they lifted up their eyes and saw, and behold, a tumult and great preparation. And the bridegroom came forth, and his friends and his brethren, to meet them with timbrels and musical instruments and many weapons. And they rose up against them from the place where they lay in ambush, and slew them, and there fell many wounded. And the rest fled into the mountains, and they took all their spoils. And Jonathan saw that the time served him, and he chose certain men, and sent them to Rome, to confirm and to renew the amity with them. And he sent letters to the Spartans, and to other places according to the same form. And they went to Rome, and entered into the Senate house, and said, "Jonathan the high priest, and the nation of the Jews, have sent us to renew the amity and alliance as it was before." And they gave them letters to their governors in every place, to conduct them into the land of Judah with peace. And this is a copy of the letters which Jonathan wrote to the Spartans. Jonathan, the high priest, and the ancients of the nation, and the priests, and the rest of the people of the Jews, to the Spartans their brethren, greeting. There were letters sent long ago to Onias the high priest from Arius, who reigned then among you, to signify that you are our brethren, as the copy here underwritten specifies. And Onias received the ambassador with honor, and received the letters, wherein there was mention made of the alliance and amity. We, though we needed none of these things, having for our comfort the holy books that are in our hands, chose rather to send to you to renew the brotherhood and friendship, lest we should become stranger to you altogether. For there is a long time past since you sent to us. We, therefore, at all times without ceasing, both in our festivals and other days wherein it is convenient, remember you in the sacrifices that we offer, and in our observances, as it is meet and becoming to remember brethren. Now when Tryphon had conceived a design to make himself king of Asia, and to take the crown, and to stretch out his hand against King Antiochus, fearing lest Jonathan would not suffer him, but would fight against him, he sought to seize upon him and to kill him. So he rose up and came to Bethsan. And Jonathan went out to meet him with 40,000 men chosen for battle, and came to Bethsan. Now when Tryphon saw that Jonathan came with a great army, he dared not stretch forth his hand against him, but received him with honor, and commended him to all his friends, and gave him presents. And he commanded his troops to obey him as himself. And he said to Jonathan, Why have you troubled all the people, whereas we have no war? Now therefore send them back to their own houses, and choose for yourself a few men that may be with you, and come with me to Ptolemais, and I will deliver it to you, and the rest of the strongholds and the army, and all that have any charge, and I will return and go away, for this is the cause of my coming. And Jonathan believed him, and did as he said, and sent away his army, and they departed into the land of Judah. But he kept with him 3,000 men, of whom he sent 2,000 into Galilee, and 1,000 went with him. Now, as soon as Jonathan entered into Ptolemais, they of Ptolemais shut the gates of the city, and took him. And all them that came in with him they slew with the sword. Then Tryphon sent an army and horsemen into Galilee, and into the great plain, in 141 BC, to destroy all Jonathan's company. But they, when they understood that Jonathan and all that were with him were taken and slain, encouraged one another, and went out ready for battle. Then they that had come after them, seeing that they stood for their lives, returned back. Whereupon they all came peaceably into the land of Judah, and they bewailed Jonathan, and them that had been with him exceedingly, and Israel mourned with great lamentation. Now Simon heard that Tryphon was gathering together a very great army to invade the land of Judah and to destroy it. And seeing that the people was in dread and in fear, he went up to Jerusalem and assembled the people, and exhorted them, saying, You know what great battles I and my brethren and the house of my father have fought for the laws and the sanctuary and the distresses that we have seen, by reason whereof all my brethren have lost their lives for Israel's sake, and I am left alone. And now far be it from me to spare my life in any time of trouble, for I am not better than any of my brethren. I will avenge then my nation and the sanctuary and our children and wives, for all the heathens are gathered together to destroy us out of mere malice. And the spirit of the people was enkindled as soon as they heard these words. And they answered with a loud voice, saying, You are our leader in the place of Judas and Jonathan your brother. Fight our battles, and we will do whatever you shall say to us. So, gathering together all the men of war, he made haste to finish all the walls of Jerusalem, and he fortified it round about. And he sent Jonathan the son of Absalom, and with him a new army into Joppa, And he cast out them that were in it, and himself remained there. And Tryphon removed from Ptolemais with a great army to invade the land of Judah, and Jonathan was with him in custody. But Simon pitched in Addus over against the plain. And when Tryphon understood that Simon was risen up in the place of his brother Jonathan, and that he meant to join battle with him, he sent messengers to him, saying, "We have detained your brother Jonathan for the money that he owed in the king's account, by reason of the affairs which he had the management of. But now send 100 talents of silver and his 2 sons for hostages, that when he is set at liberty he may not revolt from us, and we will release him." Now Simon knew that he spoke deceitfully to him. Nevertheless, he ordered the money and the children to be sent, lest he should bring upon himself a great hatred of the people of Israel, who might have said, "Because he did not send the money and the children, therefore he is lost." So he sent the children and the 100 talents, and he lied and did not let Jonathan go. And it was heard at Rome, and as far as Sparta, that Jonathan was dead, and they were very sorry. But when they heard that Simon his brother was made high priest in his place, and was possessed of all the country and the cities therein, they wrote to him in tables of brass to renew the friendship and alliance which they made with Judas and with Jonathan his brethren. And they were read before the assembly in Jerusalem. And this is the copy of the letters that the Spartans sent. The princes and the cities of the Spartans, to Simon the high priest, and to the ancients and the priests and the rest of the people of the Jews, their brethren, greeting. The ambassadors that were sent to our people have told us of your glory and honor and joy, and we rejoiced at their coming. And we registered what was said by them in the councils of the people in this manner. Numenius, the son of Antiochus, and Antipater, the son of Jason, ambassadors of the Jews, came to us to renew the former friendship with us. And it pleased the people to receive the men honorably, and to put a copy of their words in the public records, to be a memorial to the people of the Spartans. And we have written a copy of them to Simon, the high priest. And after this, Simon sent Numenius to Rome, with a great shield of gold, of the weight of 1,000 pounds, to confirm the league with them. And when the people of Rome had heard these words, they said, "What thanks shall we give to Simon and his sons? For he has restored his brethren, and has driven away in fight the enemies of Israel from them." And they decreed him liberty, and registered it in tables of brass, and set it upon pillars in Mount Sion. Now Simon, as he was going through the cities that were in the country of Judea, and taking care for the good ordering of them, went down to Jericho, he and Mattathias and Judas his sons, in the year 177, the 11th month, the same as the month Sabbath, January or February of 134 BC. And the son of Abobus received them deceitfully into a little fortress that is called Doch, which he had built, and he made them a great feast, and hid men there. And when Simon and his sons had drunk plentifully, Ptolemy and his men rose up and took their weapons, and entered into the banqueting place, and slew him and his 2 sons, and some of his servants. And he committed a great treachery in Israel, and rendered evil for good. And Ptolemy wrote these things, and sent to the king, that he should send him an army to aid him, and he would deliver him the country and their cities and tributes. And he sent others to Gazara to kill John, and to the tribunes he sent letters to come to him, and that he would give them silver and gold and gifts. And he sent others to take Jerusalem and the mountain of the temple. Now one running before told John in Gazara that his father and his brethren were slain, and that he had sent men to kill you also. But when he heard it, he was exceedingly afraid, and he apprehended the men that came to kill him, and he put them to death, for he knew that they sought to make him away. And as concerning the rest of the acts of John, and his wars, and the worthy deeds which he bravely achieved, and the building of the walls which he made, and the things that he did, behold, these things are written in the books of the days of his priesthood, from the time that he was made high priest after his father.